Hey everybody, welcome to Everyday Journey. Today, got a package in the mail. What is it, you say? Well, let's open it up and see. This is a little electronics kit. Not just any electronics kit though. This is a little Arduino electronics kit. I've actually wanted to get one of these for a long time. I've always been fascinated with electronics and how everything works and everything else, but I've never really dived down into it well enough to understand it. I've got a general understanding of it, and I kind of understand what a lot of the different things do, but I don't know how to do it. I've never really got into it enough to be able to know how to wire things up so that everything works properly. One of the things that I've come into is a problem, because I had an electronics kit, something that you would get from like Radio Shack before, and I went through that, and I always had the problem with whenever it came to actually hooking up any of the microchips that were in there, or the chips. Didn't exactly know what was going on with them. I didn't know. Like, I'm the type of person, whenever I do something like that, I really want to get into it and understand it completely. And without getting like the schematics of the actual chip and going through those, and even that, the schematics, I don't really understand that completely. But I'd love to. I'd love to understand that, or at least understand it enough to get something working. So that's why I got this, because part of the problem I had with it too was the fact that you could only do whatever the chip was supposed to do, and you really couldn't make it do what you wanted it to do. I looked in before at some like PLCs. I looked into those, and the actual software is where those get really expensive. Yeah, they have some really basic models, or at least had some last time I looked at it, which is a long time ago. Some really basic models that only did a few things to where the software was actually free, and I just never bought the bullet, or I never bit the bullet and actually got one of those, because I didn't see how that could be helpful for me. Didn't seem like it was really expandable. It didn't seem like it would do everything that I would want it to do, because I got a lot of ideas of what could happen or what I could do with something like this. And as cheap as these things are, I mean, I don't remember exactly what I paid for this, but it was under $50, I know that, and probably under $30, or right around there, because I don't want to spend a lot to learn how to do this. Now, I did look at this, and it is expandable, or it seems like it is anyway, expandable in many different ways, to where I could almost do kind of whatever I wanted. I think the limitations, especially as a beginner, especially the type of projects that I'd want to do, I don't think that the limitations of this, I think it's going to easily be able to exceed what I need it to do or would want it to do. And then I think, again, it is expandable, or I could just get another one if I ever wanted to do anything more. So, and like I said, as cheap as they are, why not? So. This right here, this is just a beginning video to show you what this is, or at least show you quickly what all's in here. And then I think this would actually be a good learning experience for others, to see where I go from here. I think I'll probably make a playlist with this that you could see how I started out just by buying it and then going from there. One of the downfalls of this kit is it doesn't actually have any kind of book with it so that I can learn that way. But luckily, just as you guys know, that YouTube and the internet is a great way to learn. So I think I can find plenty of things on this to be able to at least get me a really good start on it. So as I go, I'm planning on trying to write down all trying to write down all the websites and or YouTube channels and specific videos even, of where I learned how to do these things along the way, so that maybe you can go and watch those videos and get a better understanding, and maybe we can just start a little, a back and forth thing here, to where you guys can tell me what could possibly be better, or what I could do better, And then maybe even as I get to learn this more, that you guys can ask me questions and maybe I can even answer them for you, because I try to do that with people. They have questions about things that I've made videos about. I try my best to answer it honestly. And if I don't know, of course I'm going to tell you I don't know, but I'll at least try to look into it and see if I can't give you my understanding of it, and maybe even give you some better insight on where you can find that information. So anyway, let me just show you guys what this little kit entails, and then we'll go from there and see where things go. Alright, so this is just how I got it. This is all the things that came in it. It's a little box to put everything in. Right here, I'm not really sure what this is. This is a chip here that has, it's already soldered, or actually no, this one just clips in here, but it's got its own little links to where you can wire up. Looks like this, one of these wires anyway, I don't know if it's this one, could just clip right directly into it, so that you could feed this over into the breadboard, which I'll show you in a second. But it's got its own LEDs on there. We'll try to figure out what that one is, maybe even in the next video, as I learn more about this and explain exactly what I'm seeing and finding in here and what they're actually used for. So, but that is its own little microprocessor to run some things, and like I said, we'll find out what all it has. So we got plenty of wires here. This one actually is all connected together, so that if you were bridging something specifically like this to the breadboard, you'd have all your connectors right here in one go. Then you got a ton of loose wires here, a couple different lengths. There's not really any real long ones, but hopefully we won't really need that. We've got a whole bunch of resistors here, and just quickly knowing that these color codes mean something, I'm just looking real quick here to see, and it does look like they are different, which means that we have at least a couple of different ones. And actually it's written on here what it is. This one is 220K or kilo ohms most likely. And again, I'm not really sure what that means, but I do kind of have an idea of what it is, so I will let you guys know further about that. Here we've got a little servo motor. Looks like it's a geared one, and of course the connectors that go on here to be able to connect it to other things. We've got a little LED board so that we can have this light up in different patterns if we wanted to. Also in this bag we've got a ton of different loose LEDs, a couple of pressure or switches here. We've got an actual number key or LED number board here, so we can wire up something with that if we wanted to. We've got some light sensing, I think they're diodes, that can be able to tell whether or not lights are on or off, or maybe even tell how much light we're getting. Trying to see what else is here. Got a loose chip here. This little black one here, I think, is a, well, I'm not going to guess on that one, but I think it has to do with the IR, infrared, but I'm not certain. So, I forgot what the name of this one is. I did see it, and I do know what it is for, so that you can actually turn it to limit the amount of current going through. But again, I don't remember what it's called. Looks like there's another loose chip. Actually, no, that's not a loose chip. It's another switch. You got a small capacitor there. And again, I am not a professional in any way. We've got our 9-volt power supply or 9-volt battery with the connector so that we can wire this directly up to and power the Arduino. I'll probably not use that much because I hate batteries. I would rather just plug it in. So I'll probably change that. Every time I throw away cell phones or anything that has an actual charger. I always keep the charger. So if we can get something that I can just wire up to that will give me my 9 volts, I think I'll probably use that instead. We've got our USB cable so we can connect the Arduino to the computer so we can program it. We've got a case here that we could actually put some of our loose components, maybe all of them. Looks like here we have an LED screen. Well, I think it's LED, but it doesn't matter. We'll get to that in the future. Here we've got, as it says, a stepper motor. This is what you'll find, and I actually have some of these, or had some of these, that you'll find in like printers and things like that. So if you ever were taking apart a printer, well, you could use one of these if you had something to where you could program it, and because that's what this one requires. It's not just a regular DC motor, and I've never had the opportunity to be able to program anything, so I've never been able to really use one of these. But now I have, and maybe I can dig out some of those other motors and use those as well. So we've got our breadboard here so we can make all our connections. It may or may not work for me. I may actually use my old electronics kit where it's got a much bigger breadboard and it has all these components, or a lot of these components as well. So maybe I'll tie in a lot of those too. But here we've got, and I don't remember what this one was. I'm trying to think of the name of what they call these things. They basically can clip into the top of the Arduino, which is right here. You can clip into the top of it so that you can, and this one's got push buttons on it. I don't see any LEDs on it, but this is where you could make connections, possibly with some of the chips that I had in here, or maybe just make connections with the wires. So here we've got a bunch of pins, and I don't know if this is breakaway or not. I'll have to look into that further, whether these break away so that you can use a few of them, or if these are just so that you can push them into the breadboard and then have something to clip onto for if you're trying to connect up something else. But that's pretty much it. This is the Arduino Uno, and I think it's the R Plus or R Plus 3, or maybe just the R3. I don't remember which. But looking into it, I think this had the capability of doing about whatever I'd want to with it. So let's step back here and I'll tell you what I would like to do with this, and maybe you guys can either one, give me some comments about it, or two, just follow along as I learn to see whether or not I can or cannot do those things with it, and then we'll learn along the way too whether or not what all I do to get to, because this is obviously sized small for learning, but I believe this could be sized up for other things, and hopefully we can help each other out on getting to the point of actually doing some bigger projects with things that are, basically doing something a lot more than what you would do just learning right here. So anyway, like I said, let me step back real quick and tell you what I think I would like to do with this thing. So that's the components. Yeah, there's not a lot here, but there's a good basic amount of stuff to get an understanding of it. What I want to do with this thing, the things that have always come up in my head of what I'd like to do with this, if I had the capabilities and if I had the place to do it, is to actually, one, I'd love to have an automated greenhouse. Like, as much automated as possibly could get. Because I know I've actually worked with a what do you call those things? I don't know if it's like a hot box or what, but basically it is a glass enclosure that you can put plants in early on, much earlier than spring, so that you can start plants, get everything going, and then by the time spring rolls around you can take the plants out, actually put them in the garden. But it's all outdoors. The problem, I didn't make one before, honestly. At my mother's property, I made one where I took an old front door, like the glass screen doors, and I used the glass from it with the frame and everything, and I put it over the top of it. And I think I made the back out of cinder block, and I made the sides out of cinder block. But because it was a door that was slanted down, facing in the direction of the sun, the cinder block obviously couldn't it was just stacked cinder block, and you can't go at an angle with a cinder block, so it was stepped on the sides. So to overcome that step, I actually put wooden board forms on the side and just packed it full of basically grass and mud or clay to fill that in, and made the wall out of that. And then I went and packed the cinder blocks themselves with the same material so that I could have it well insulated. And I did a few tests with that, and it didn't work out like I want. It actually got way too hot in there. And not being automated, there was no way that I could regulate that. Because I was either out at work, or heck, really by the time the morning comes around, by the time most people wake up, eat breakfast, and get outside, you'd be surprised at how hot that actually got inside there. So I needed something that I could actually just monitor the temperature, open and close it, possibly turn on a fan if it needed it, or something like that to make sure that the plants, because I mean they're just going to sit there and cook. So especially the seedlings. So anyway, that's something I did, but I think I'd have the same problem with the greenhouse. Because I'm not always there, I'm out and about doing other things all the time, I wouldn't be able to monitor it. So to have a greenhouse that would be completely sustained or completely regulated by something that was programmable, I think that would be a really cool project. So bad thing is I don't really have a place for that here. I could try my best to learn how to do it, and hopefully in the future, who knows, I'll actually have a place like that. But you know, I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch. So but anyway, my next project with this, the one I'll probably try to do first as I learn how to do this, is I actually have I think it's called a battery tender, but it's a solar power or solar panel that I have a battery that's actually a spare battery at this point, because my son, we bought him a car, and it was a cheap car, and it seemed like they just flipped it. You could tell by some of the things that were done with it that it looks like they had just flipped it. And one of the things that they did with it, and by flipped it I mean they just turned it into a moneymaker for them. They bought it and sold it just to make money. They did whatever minimal repairs that they had to do to it so that they could sell it. And one of the things that they did was that they had to replace the battery. The one that was in there wasn't going to work, and so they replaced it with the very smallest battery they could possibly find. So the car being a V6 and needing plenty of cranking amps, especially during the winter time, it wasn't working very well. So we replaced that battery, but rather than me turn it in and get the core charge back, I kept the battery. And then I bought the battery tender. And I have it outside, it just sits there and faces it. It actually doesn't, at this point in time, doesn't even get in direct sunlight anytime throughout the day, but yet it will keep that battery charged. But I'd like to find something to do with that battery. Currently I've been using a little, the charger that you would plug in a car, so that you can run or not charger, but a little inverter that you would run in the car to be able to run a laptop or something small inside your car through your cigarette lighter. I'd use it and I'd charge my phone, or I'd charge my watch, or just whatever, something small like that though. But I'd love to do more with that. And what I'd like to do with it is make a solar tracker. Use this kit, and maybe even components that I get to go with this kit, to help me track the sun. Set it up on something that will every day go out and track the sun throughout the sky. And from what I've seen, it's fairly easy to do, but I haven't actually seen very many, anything major anyway, especially not anything that showed you how step by step to do it out there on YouTube, or at least not quickly searchable. And I would like to see that, and I think a lot of people would like to see that, because if you could track the sun with a solar panel, you can increase the amount of energy you get from it. I don't even know, it's probably like at least 50% throughout the day. So in the case that you were trying to do even solar for your home or something like that, you could use or get by with a lot less solar panels just by putting on something that you could track it. And I think with this kit and maybe a few other things, I think we could make something that would be a good mock-up for something that we could then later turn into a bigger project and actually make the real deal. So that's what I'd really like to do with it, because especially if I were to get a different place, I have always had in mind to have solar power. And if you can do some of the things yourself, especially making your own tracker, you can get by with spending a lot less money on solar, because you don't buy as much, because you don't need as many panels, things like that. So I don't know, that's part of the things I'd like to try with this. I'd love to hear from you guys to see what else, either one, you've tried for anything, and then two, would love to see if you guys know any more about this, on what, with the things that I've said, on what more I might need with this kit, and then something specifically that would go with this kit, so that hopefully we could get something like that going. So definitely let me know that. At this point though, I think we're done with this video. I appreciate you guys who have watched it all the way to the end here. I know this has been kind of boring, but at the same time, it's kind of exciting too. So at least it is for me. Hopefully for you guys, it is for you. And if you ever thought about doing something like this yourself, hopefully this will help you step in that direction, and maybe even give you a lot of ideas, give you some things you can copy, or even give you some things you can use and then do your own little spin-off with it. But I'd like to do this so that we could all kind of learn together at first, maybe mostly me, but with the little bit of programming that I've had throughout my life, both in elementary school and college, I think I could probably handle this. Be a little bit of a learning curve, or maybe even a lot of a learning curve, but I think I can handle this. With the resources that are out there, I think I can get a good understanding of it, and then hopefully with a lot of help from you guys, I can get an even better understanding of it, and maybe we can build a little community here and help each other out the best we can. So anyway, I definitely appreciate you guys watching. Any questions, concerns, comments, anything like that, send them my way, and I'll try to get back to you best I can. So you guys take care.